Welcome to the last episode of Also Consider This for the year 2025. Now, Kofong and I are doing something a bit different here. We are looking back on 2025 and looking forward to 2026. And we have a bunch of questions that was actually given to us through a podcast by Mel Robbins. It's 6 questions to review this year and to look forward to next year. Now, this is a very different episode to what we normally do. Most of the time, we talk about society topics, news, and things like that. Things that are external of us. But today, I feel that we kind of go deep, go dark, go progressive on our own selves. We are more introspective today. And I hope that you can sort of experiment this with us, listen to us. And what I hope for you is that you would follow along, take the same 6 questions. They will be in the timestamps below. And sort of maybe write out the answers for yourself. You know, listen to us, maybe take us as a reference point, but also try and answer these questions for yourself. Because I think, Kofong, do you feel that, the questions today have sort of given you a bit of introspection and looking forward?
Yeah, I think when you first told me that we're going to do this, I was like, yeah, why not? Let's try. And then I think as we go down the list, kind of help us to really think deeper about what has went in our lives over the past year. So I think it's really a good tool. These 6 questions are not exhaustive in that sense, but it's really a good starting point or jumping point for how you would really want to end and also to start the new year.
Welcome to Also Consider This, the podcast where we value nuance, perspective, and knowledge so that we can all be
also clever thinkers.
I am the second most famous Alistair on the podcasting scene.
And my name is Guo Feng.
So we have had 2025. The year is launched. We launched a podcast, and I think there's quite a fair bit to sort of reflect and look back on and look forward towards 2026. So what's your take for this year, just generally?
I think this year has been a more difficult year as compared to the last. But it seems like ever since adulting, it seems like every year seems to be more difficult than the last. So it just seems like it's just a natural progress of things.
Yeah, I think something that tends to happen more in recent years is that the memes about wanting the year to be over, they don't seem to end with every year. Yeah. Like 2020 was very obvious, right? Because COVID and all that.
Pandemic.
But every single year seems to have this same meme or same moaning on social media saying that that was shit. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Like every year feels the same.
Yeah.
But I think for me this year it's a bit less so. I can't stop the time. So I can't really say I want the year to end or the year to start or whatever. But I think there were also low points, just as there were some highs. And there were low points, there were some highs. And I think, as cliche as it may be, around 31st December is also it's a time to stock take also.
Yep. And we are actually literally recording this on the final day.
Yes, this is 31st December, 3:30 p.m. in Singapore.
Yep.
Yeah. Lawrence Wong has been on leave for about 2 weeks, I think.
Is it? I didn't really notice, but yeah.
There was a Instagram post of him going on a holiday.
I see.
Yeah, so he's on leave till next year. I think but just like everybody else, right? There's so many people. The city is pretty quiet.
It's like everybody's winding down.
Yeah.
Then waiting for like the first bell to ring in 1st Jan and everything starts back up again.
Back to school and back to work again.
Yeah.
Back to the grind. So, taking this opportunity to reflect, I would like everyone to also consider how their lives have been for the past year. Not just in the frame of mind of just looking forward, what you want to do, and just and then end up with the same cliche resolutions of I want to lose weight, I want to eat healthier, and I want to save $20,000 or whatever shit like that. I think there's more to it. Setting goals is not a bad thing, but setting up goals without considering how you sort of reflect on yourself and go in with a frame of mind of self-improvement. I think that's not it's better to do that with some growth in mind. All right. So very conveniently, we are going to place the timestamps on each of the 6 questions so you can listen to this as chapters. Let's start with the first question. Right. So what were the low points of your year?
I think for me, low points this year was, I think, really towards the end of the year. I think this was the year that I really drilled down and said that, okay, I really want to settle my own like mental health and stuff. So it has been an ongoing process throughout the year. So there were low points where there were really days where it really feels a bit difficult to take stock of your own emotions and thoughts and things like that. And then I think almost towards the end of the year is when I really realized that it's really not the healthiest of how I view things and how I view my own thought patterns, and be it how I deal with emotions and things like that. So I think low points were peppered throughout the year, but it really came to the fore like towards the end of the year when you really like took time to take a break. Then like everything just like come together.
One thing that is very obvious to me as a friend is that you seem quite burnt out, especially towards Q4 of the year.
Yeah.
Will this consider, like, let's just pick one of that, right?
Yeah.
Will you consider this like a low point to review upon for the year?
Yeah, I think having the time away also gave me some time to think. Having time away doesn't necessarily equate to taking stock. I think that is the false equivalence that a lot of us take, because we say we take time away means we really like zoom out. But zooming out is
actually, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
It sounds more like when I feel that what you're trying to say is that zooming out is really taking stock.
Yeah.
Whereas taking time away means stepping away, like leaving the room.
Sometimes we say we're gonna step away, but stepping away doesn't equate to taking stock. Yeah. I think that's what to frame it all up lah. Because in the middle of the year I did take some time away, but then it didn't really help much to the situation. And then speaking to some friends and all things like that, a lot of people did say that sometimes we just really need to rethink how we view rest. Sometimes to just step away, it just feels more tiring to step. As in during your step away time, it's like then everything starts to like come in and then it floods you. Then it's like, then it makes the low point even lower.
It jams the gears up even more. Yeah.
Then it makes it hard to. So I think those were what I noticed of my low points this year lah. That it seems as though like taking a step away kind of made it worse. But then at the same time, if you think about it, the step away was really needed. If not, then you're just carrying this on. You're just basically kicking a can down the road lah.
I mean, this is more in the professional side of things, right? The work side of things, right?
Yeah.
For myself, I think since you're talking about work, right? My low points of the year were really also kind of career related. I wasn't in a good space in terms of finding the next step in my career, in my profession. And I had a mental breakdown which is the kind that you don't wish on your worst enemy also. As much as I don't want to relive it again, I'm also glad I went through it. Because there'll be a lot of frustration, a lot of various anger, sadness, all the kind of various spectrum of emotion, all crammed into this tiny vessel of a human body.
Yeah, it's like an emotional singularity of some sort. It's like
yes, it's like so much of that stuff coalesced into this ball.
Yeah.
And when it exploded, that created a mental breakdown where I basically, you can imagine like
disorientating in some sense.
I'm literally ended up on the floor crying. That kind of thing. Not something that I would happily shout from the rooftops that I had.
Yeah.
Oddly, I'm putting it out on a podcast, but I'm trying to put this out because it's the point. The point of the questions here is to share, and also like, hey, why don't you join us with this in this exercise, right? So consider about how you look back and look forwards, you know, rather than just look left or right. Think about how things can be better. I think we can go into more detail in the following questions because I'm looking down the list. I think it's also worth reflecting upon. So yours is down to burnout from work.
Yeah.
Mine is like
frustration and feeling stuck.
Yeah,
I
feeling
think
stuck.
it's closely related,
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, and I think we can unpack this further down in the next few questions.
Yeah.
So the low points of our year, basically, work sucks. I know.
So I think the following question is that what were some high moments of the year lah? I think for me, if I were to say, I think the older that you get, I mean, we are not young anymore. We are pushing to our late 30s right now. It's no longer the high that you feel when you're younger.
I attribute this to you being a Man United fan.
That's not. That is kind of true, but yet at the same time, what I'm trying to say is more like the idea of, the highs, because you have been through you have kind of seen life, you have experienced more of life. And then some of the highs, you also realize that I think you start to see things in a more realistic idea where it's like high moments, yeah, it's good, but at the same time, reality is still going to kick in somehow lah. In that sense, that's how I see it. So
there's a bit of a cynical side there lah. You can call it cynical, you can call it realist, but there's a bit of reservation, so to speak.
So I think high moments was being able to take a quite extended time away to travel. I spent close to about 2 weeks away from work and then traveling, and then so how I scheduled the trip was I scheduled half of a trip solo, then half of a trip with like friends. So like the initial part of the trip was solo, which was quite a interesting experience because I have not solo traveled for quite some time. The last time when I solo traveled was when I was in between work. After the initial part of coming into the workforce, like a year after, then like, the 1 year contract ended, then it's like, okay, solo travel.
It's like your second grad trip.
Yeah, kind of that thing. You would say that you are more adult right now, but then at the same time, you are also more realistic of certain things. But at the same time, you are able to kind of maneuver around a city quite easily. So those were like high moments to like see things for what it is. But at the same time, I think the usual trap is still there lah. Then you try to pack too much into things, but then overall, I would say that's one of the high moments. I think secondly was not just because we are on this podcast, but another high moment, I would say that it's finally starting this thing. How it came about was you came up to me and said, hey, let's start a podcast, which is not new. We have been saying it since
2015.
Not even 2015,
earlier.
even like 2007 when we got our iPod the other time, when we were like...
Yeah, it's a long time coming.
It's a long time coming when I remember we recorded a Skype call and thinking that maybe this could be like something that could take off, but we realized nothing much to talk about. Then
we had no recipe, basically.
Yeah, and even when we started this, it was really also like, hey, let's wing it. It was really, if you all remember the first episode, it was like just on the couch.
Yeah, I was just winging it. That was just
it was like totally terrible. It's like if you look back and now it's like, nope. But then because we said, okay, we give ourselves a deadline, we said we're gonna churn out content by this date, then we're just releasing it.
Yes.
Whether it is good, it is not good, we're just gonna do it. So that kind of is a high point in a sense, not in a traditional sense where like you really feel good, but at least it feels like, okay, you finally got it going. And then it kind of iterated, and then it became like, okay, a weekly or bi-weekly thing. I mean, there were weeks where we were away or we just recorded multiple episodes. And once then we played around with like release schedules, we played around with like formats and stuff like that. Strictly speaking, we are actually still kind of iterating along the way. There's kind of like a direction that we are going because we are recording a podcast, we are doing something that's going to have an end product. It's not just like, we're just talking for the sake of talking.
Yeah.
So I think that's a high point lah.
Yeah. For me, the high point of the year, okay, obviously starting this podcast was, I can call this a high point of the year. It's not a thrilling high. However, if I were to point back to 2025, then I could easily point at that year as the year we started this thing. And hopefully we can continue pushing on and continue producing. And I think to make that happen is also to continue and push on as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we can go do more things and more interesting things. But the pointing back at 2025 is about we started this particular year. In terms of as a growth point of view, yes, to me, the more specific high moment was the point of time where we released our commentary on Gavin Lee's appointment. So that episode with Gavin Lee had the most views. The views were not really the main thing for me. It is good that you have more people looking at it. Yes, no doubt. It's a vanity metric. Obviously, it's going to give you a bit of a high. But what it indicated to me was that we were able to sort of capture the moment of a zeitgeist kind of thing.
Yeah, the zeitgeist.
That we could capture the moment in the mood, and we sort of found a formula for us to find a running topic that is sort of managed to touch on the pulse of the internet in a way. Something that is, let's be frank, something that is not politically sensitive. So we're not going to
engage in is still quite safe, lah.
Yeah, we're not. We have jobs to keep, so we're not going to engage in political talk here. And it also showed that we have sort of matured to a certain point. There's like a rough idea of when our podcast got to a place where it's firm. The first, just after qualification.
Yeah, the episode about SG football. lah.
Yeah, I think from that moment onwards was more or less the time where we felt that, okay, our format and our podcast is firm. The hawker one where we talked about that, I felt that was a bit like it
wasn't flowing.
It felt like a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
It felt like luck. And then using a similar style and tactic, we pushed out the other episodes that sort of got more attention, right? So
yeah,
I think it's a matter of like, okay, it's no longer just luck. We have some fixed points locked in. And that's how we felt that we've grown. Obviously, there are other high points in the year. Things like going overseas also, over holidays and stuff like that. So those are the high moments of the year. So what did you learn this year?
I think there are two main things that I've learned. And I think both are very strongly linked to this idea of the infinite game. I mean, we talked about it in one of the Today I Learned, but it really kind of like helped me to put a lot of things into perspective where it's like, okay, take the long view. So I think one of the first thing is that like a lot of things in life is about process and iteration. So especially if we talked about like growth, healing, learning, a lot of these things is like you have to start off a process rather than, okay, I'm going to do this. Then you expect on day one you're going to flip and then a switch will flip in your head and then things will change. That is something that I've learned, especially coming to terms with a lot of like your inner psyche and then self-awareness and stuff like that. It is also a process rather than, okay, I know already, then that's it. Because you realize is that even though sometimes you are aware of like certain, your own neurosis, like your own neurosis is like, yeah, you know it's like wrong, but at the same time, because it has been intertwined with your life and like with your habits and stuff like that, it is not going to be like a click. Even if it clicks in your head to know that it is wrong, but it's not going to be that easy to like root out and like to just change it. So it's going to be a process. It's an iterative process rather than like, okay, immediate change. And I think a very good, if I were to say it's like a good analogy for it, it's like even when we do this podcast, it is a process. From the couch, we change to another setup. Then we finally change to a setup. But then we realize is that every week we start to think, hey, actually this one can change. Sometimes making these tweaks can be a bit uncomfortable. Like when we suggest certain things, it's like, okay, try lor. But at the same time, you also realize is that sometimes when we propose a certain change, there will be some inertia going in. Be it on your part or my part, or when we are thinking of how we're going to change things. So in the same way, life, it's also like that in some sense, that as we want to change and we want to do things, if we look at it as a process, then it starts to make sense where the inertia and stuff like that the resistance, it's going to be there. It's always going to be there. Then sometimes if you get discouraged, it's not that, it sucks, but rather, it's just part of the process.
I think the biggest thing that I learned this year was that it's a bit more of an experimental mindset. Whether it's something that you can see as a viewer or listener, or something that you don't see because it's invisible to the viewer. We've done a lot of experimentation on this podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, this particular episode is an experiment on its own.
Yeah, because it's like a format that
we never talk about ourselves in this podcast ever. Yeah. This is the first time we actually go deep, go dark, and go progressive.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, like, the biggest lesson from this podcast series so far is this whole mindset of experimentation. We experimented, as you said, the most obvious one. Episode 1, we were on the couch, and the result was that the conversation became very laid back.
Yeah,
but
it's too
chill.
Yeah.
But but the topics that we tend to want to talk about are not exactly couch topics.
Yeah.
And then there were also other experiments in terms of, like, how do we choose what to talk about?
And we had an episode that was never released, and
then we realized, actually, because we kind of winged the topic.
Yeah.
We didn't have a structure to it. We just put out what we felt like, and purely based on, like,
shoot off the hip.
We felt like it that day, we just put it out. And it was hard to follow.
Yeah.
I suspect it was hard to follow. And then, of course, what was also important to us, like what I learned, is that actually it's very important to gather the feedback. And what was great about, especially for YouTube, you get to drill down, like, how long do people hang on for?
Yeah.
How long do people come back and listen again? How long do they listen on average?
Yep.
I think all these metrics matter to me a lot more, because there's like, I drill down this experiment, I put out something different, and it helped with the view time for the first minute, for example.
Yeah.
Like last episode, right? Last episode, the one on the first gen leadership, right?
Yeah.
I did something different. I put in the edit, I put up the first highlight, like a 30-second highlight reel, and it held on to viewers more than the previous episodes. Yeah. Yes, it is arguable that it's copying someone else's playbook, because other people on other podcasts also do a similar thing. But I thought at first it doesn't really matter, because it's like freaking 1 hour long, right? So what does it do? But actually it does matter. It did make a change.
Yeah.
Right? And then also experimenting in terms of how we place our cameras.
Yeah.
Then there were the earliest episodes, you may have seen the camera actually looks very weird. The camera sort of cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of looks very weird. How do we adapt to what we have?
And we still had to MacGyver a lot of things along the way as well.
Yes. And the biggest experiment was obviously, so far, is how we pick topics.
Yep.
And that's how we sort of landed a next level achievement. We are not massive YouTubers with tens of thousands of views, but one step up above the previous one is always a positive step along the way. Just to take an example of, like, the last episode, right? We have more views than expected in the last episode.
Yep.
And let's experiment. Maybe this episode will bomb. Maybe this episode will be great. I don't know, but let's try. Because this is I'll be very upfront to say that the experiment of this episode is more introspection.
Yeah, which is kind of content we never expected to be doing on this podcast, actually.
Yes. But then, the reason why I'm choosing to do this is, one, I would actually push forward the idea of, why don't you follow us and do something like that for yourself, right? The questions are in the chapter markers, so you can copy the questions and do it for yourself. The biggest takeaway for this year is this experimental mindset, because this experimental mindset also created another thing that's very different from what was previously done in my life, is that whenever you start out something, you have this idealized picture of what things can be like.
Yeah.
I honestly put up the podcast expecting it to be shit.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yes.
Like, the whole thing is like, it's shit, but that's okay. And that's something that is very, very un-Singaporean. We don't allow ourselves to like put out something and it's shit. Yeah, we have. I think we are great as a people. We are as Singaporeans. We are great at excellence, but we are not great at failing in pursuit of excellence.
Yeah, it's like the thing that you put up must be quality.
Yes, you must be sweet, and it has to be like polished. But what this has proven to us is that it's not. We have given ourselves permission
to fail forward
and move forward. And I think this is something that I learned and appreciated a lot this year.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So, what are you gonna stop doing? Since you say there are things that you want to optimize,
I need to stop putting my health as a secondary thought, and sort of, it's not even to start doing something in this case.
Yeah.
To start doing certain activities to take care of my health is different from to stop treating my health as something that would just bounce back. We are in our late 30s.
Yeah.
In the past, whatever misgivings we throw at our bodies, it will bounce back. It's like if you were in army, right? Then you do something stupid, then you fall over, and then you pick up an injury.
Yep.
Couple of weeks time, you are back.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't seem like that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having 2 drinks is quite damaging on the following day.
Yeah.
So,
and like we even said over the weekend, it seems as though like a small illness seems to knock us out.
Yes.
Very easily.
Yes. So I think one of the things I'll stop doing is taking my health as a secondary or tertiary thought, like just assuming that it will be there. It will be there. The other thing that I'm quite cognizant of is to try and burn tomorrow today. So
it's like the idea of matchsticks.
Yes. Like there are times where I get into the zone, I start editing. It ends up the edit finishes at 4:30 in the morning. Because this is something that really gets me into the zone. Yeah. This is something I enjoy doing. And there were times where I just say that let's just get it done over with.
Yeah.
And it comes to a point where, the match is at 4 a.m., right? Just edit until 4 o'clock, right? Then the match starts. It's just nice. And then in the end, I edit, I push it out, the episode. There are some episodes where I passed out asleep and then shook myself away and continued editing. And what happens next is my following day is burnt.
Yeah.
I'm out of it. It just doesn't
you become
feel right.
Uncontactable, I know.
Yeah, I just go like, I'm even if I'm awake, I'm out of it. The condition sucks. It's kind of burning.
You're the Walking Dead lah, basically.
Yeah, like burning tomorrow just burning tomorrow today. Like sometimes a bit of holding back is necessary.
Yeah.
So sometimes you overwork yourself today, right? Just to think that you can clear tomorrow. But is that really necessary? I don't think so. So I think I'm going to stop doing that for the coming year and hopefully beyond. Yeah. So your turn. What are you going to stop doing for next year?
I know I have to stop doing it, but at the same time, I'm in the process of learning to do it. Is to stop saying yes all the time, and that it is perfectly okay to tell people no. There could be repercussions in life, especially like who are above me professionally or even personally. There are certain repercussions by saying no, because saying no, it's also how you go about saying. Not saying yes means you're going to give a no, or it could be a not yet. But how you go about communicating it, it's also a skill, which a lot of times I don't think I'm the best at doing that. But at the same time, it's also, before you can learn a new skill, you also have to stop doing the bad habit first.
Yeah.
So it's about, okay, stop saying yes to everything. Then in the meanwhile, also learn to say no in a right way.
May I propose something?
Yeah.
Okay, so this question about like saying no to things, right? There's this anecdote with regards to Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
That is, I think, quite useful for your case, that for you to consider. So Steve Jobs likes to focus on things that are considered signal to noise.
Yeah.
So you're an audio engineer, right? Signal to noise ratio, right? So his point of view is that the amount of signal versus noise determines how successful you will get. So the anecdote is this. He went up to Jonathan Ive, the guy who designed all the original iMac and all that. He said, how many things have you said no to recently? He said at first, he gave some throwaway no's. Like, I didn't want to go to this party or that kind of thing. He just gave some throwaway no's because he knew he needed to answer his boss.
Yeah.
So then Steve said, no. Steve said, turned around and said, no. What have you said no to that you really wanted to do? So what did you say no to that really excited you or made you interested or you felt obligated to do, but you said no? And that's where it sort of, then he said that it was something that sort of unlocked his mind.
Yep.
Because what Steve Jobs was trying to say no to is, the theory behind it is you need to pick your focus. If you pick too many focuses, then you are basically not focused.
Yeah.
And it becomes noise. Your signal becomes noise.
Yep.
So the suggestion is pick what you feel is the most important, and anything that does not contribute to it, you say no to. So what that creates is also that when you turn people down, you have a good reason to turn people down. You can say that, okay, I'm not going to do this because currently I'm focusing on building something else that is bigger and more important. This really has to take like a lower priority or has to wait.
Or he has to be delegated, or he has to be...
Correct. Yeah. It's not something that you can help with because you need to put your effort into this particular area. So perhaps something to consider, because ultimately, as much as I feel that is something that's worth looking at, because I also had this point in my life in this year, 2025, that a lot of ideas for projects came in along, a lot of new opportunities come along, and then I tell myself, hey, should I jump on this or should I not jump on this? And I felt that, okay, if my focus is on a particular column, anything that's related to the column, I will jump into it. If it's not related to my column, I have to give less effort to it or just put it aside. If not, it's going to cloud the development of, I'm a marketer by profession, right? If something that's not related to making my marketing stronger, I have to put it aside.
Yeah.
So just like this podcast, why am I doing this podcast then? Because this is about content creation. It is a skill set that actually this podcast has unlocked a lot of those things in the content creation.
Yep.
So therefore, I am focused on this because it's contributing to the bigger picture. So if it's not contributing to the bigger picture, then I have to say no. That's my point of view. Something to consider.
Having thought about that, and I actually thought deeper also, is that I think sometimes it's a very Singaporean psyche to say yes. Because we don't want to be the bad guy.
We don't want to disappoint people also.
Yeah. And sometimes it is not the easiest to say no. But then you actually look at certain people who are successful, not necessarily in the conventional sense, but at least they are successful or they are contented in what they are doing. They can find a sweet spot where they can learn to say no in a right manner. Not the person that always says no until like, don't bother finding this guy because he'll confirm say no one. But rather, certain people have found a sweet spot where they are amicable with most of the people that work with them, and yet they are able to help people in the times where people do need help, and they are approachable. But yet at the same time, it is not that it is always a yes from them. Because I think previously there's a false equivalency where approachable means having to say yes.
It feels like a natural assumption that because somebody is approachable means that they will say yes to everything.
Yeah.
But approachable means that
you don't know your boundaries actually.
No, I would say that it's more like being polite.
Yeah.
Like, look, let's say I approach you to paint, let's say I want you to repaint my house. Will you say yes to it? Most probably not, right? But that doesn't, but being approachable means that I'm sorry, I can't really help you. It's not what I can do. I'm not familiar with it or whatever. Not rather than just like screaming at me. That's unapproachable. That's how I would imagine it to be.
Let's move on to the next one.
So what are you going to continue doing?
I think for me, it's really to keep trying new things. Like even this year when we started, I wouldn't actually call myself a content creator, but I do, after starting this podcast, I kind of started enjoying this whole creation process. I mean, we have always played with tech. We have always played with like cameras. We have naturally been curious about things, and then I think this year is that we started becoming more comfortable in front of camera. So then I think what I want to continue doing is that we will continue to do this as much as time permits, and we are able to continue this whole pipeline of churning out episodes. That's one thing I want to continue doing. I think secondly is to continue to really just put things out there. I don't think it's just pertaining to this podcast, but life in general. Like sometimes there's this idea of, I catch myself a lot, is that this task paralysis, where it's like, oh, there's things to do then. But the idea is, okay, let's continue to do this. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be the most sophisticated solution, but let's just do it. Like, I think previously when we think about it, we keep thinking about workflow, like, okay, this, then film the thing already, then what am I going to do with the video? I need to edit, then I need to do this. Even for, let's say I see a sunset, for example, I want to do a time lapse. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to get this camera in my inventory. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this setting. But sometimes when you start to think about that, or you start planning, because I want to take a very nice time lapse of this sunset, I'm going to go out from home at this time to go to Pongo, by this time so that I can set up the camera. I'm going to do the setting. By the time you think about it, the inertia, sometimes it's like, so complicated, inertia there, then. But rather, I mean, we have watched some creators, especially photography, they say like the best camera is whatever you have on hand. Sometimes just take whatever you have on hand and just do. And then you just put it out there. And it works. It doesn't work, heck it. Yeah. At least you have done that. In the same way in life or in things, sometimes it's that we have the tools on hand. It's just that a lot of times I'm being stopped by my own thinking or like my own perfectionist mindset that.
Yeah, that's why I say that this whole podcast experimental sort of this non-idealized experimental view of doing this podcast sort of unlocked something in both of us.
Yeah.
We tend to be overthinkers before this. Well, we still are.
Even though we try to be also clever thinkers, but at the root of it, we are also overthinkers.
We are also overthinkers.
Yeah.
When it comes to this, by the way, that this whole thing, what you just say about the setup camera or that, right? Yeah. That would be a perfect vlog.
Yeah.
Because there's a 3x structure.
Yeah.
So the thing that I'll continue doing is try and think of content in terms of 3x structure. So like this is the start. Like the start is, I feel like going to take a sunrise or sunset photo.
Yeah.
Or sunset time lapse.
Yeah.
And then the middle part is, can I get there?
Yeah.
Because there's so many things you're going to pack along, and then rushing there. And then the resolution is like, oh, I managed to film it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Actually, that's actually a vlog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go and watch Casey Neistat's guide. Yeah, it's quite interesting. What I will continue doing, reflecting back to you what you said earlier, right?
Yep.
I actually noticed that you have like put out little pieces of experimental like odd content just to say snippets and stuff like that, right? Doing the fridge cam view and like the behind the scenes view kind of thing, right? I would say that like, hey, perhaps I think that is a sign of you just kind of going, heck it, let's just put something out.
Yeah.
And let's try something out, right? And it to me it's like, okay, it's good because you are trying something out and people notice. And I feel that I would encourage you to continue doing that because I think that is one, a creative outlet, and two, it may unlock more things for you moving forward.
Yeah, I think for me, just the final response to this whole thing is that I think honestly, it's because technology has enabled us to do this in a more succinct and a more clear manner.
Painless manner.
Yeah.
There's no more, you don't have to worry about the ISO being too high and the image too grainy. You don't have to worry about your memory cards running out because, you don't have to worry about
buying a video editing software because right now almost every camera manufacturer, even if let's say I play with action cams, right? Yeah. Like DJI has its own like app. There's an editor built into the app that allows you to do this.
Exactly. If you want a pro level kind of app to do it, you can download DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
The basic one is free. The gear really isn't something that's getting in the way these days.
Technology has enabled everyone to be a creator in that sense.
Yes, it is no longer that stumbling block. I think even microphones, you can get like wireless microphones for like $50.
Yeah.
And
which is why there's so many people on TikTok nowadays. And 10 years ago, I would not imagine that we can get pro level, I won't say pro lah, but decent level audio from at a decent level, at a decent price point for majority of the audiences out there.
Yes. Come to think of it, actually for like 8 to 10 years ago, some of the tech is already available.
It's just that you need to have that.
You just need to want to try and do it.
Yeah.
This microphone is launched in what year?
This was 90. It's like this
60s or 80s.
Yeah, this is a 50th anniversary thing, I think.
So it's like this year, this microphone is at least like this model has been around for 50 years.
I guess so.
Then the field recorder
is like 10 plus years.
It's about 10 years old, right? Then more or less, the cameras that we bought them pre-COVID.
During COVID, actually.
Mine was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
I got mine in 2019 before COVID.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a lot of things that we already had, and we just sort of like put things up together and just went for it. So it's just continue to just dare to
do.
Just do. Yeah.
And part of the thing that helps me reinforce this is that I stumbled upon because I was playing with action cameras this year, and this year I really got down the rabbit hole of DJI. There's this influencer from the UK. Her name is Tamara Gabriel. She basically challenges everybody to say, it's not about the gear that you buy. You buy the Pocket 3 or you buy the Action 4 or the Action 5. I don't care. The whole problem is that once you buy this gear, please go out and create and just churn out a video. It doesn't really matter whether is it good or is it bad. You buy the gear is to go and experiment, go and do it. And I think that's what helps me a lot.
Yes.
In what I want to continue doing.
Yeah. I mean, that sort of triggers this memory of what I saw recently. MKBHD in his podcast, he did the team did a round of like which cameras to use for video.
Yeah.
And basically they went down like, Nikon, they found creators who use primarily Nikon, primarily Olympus, or primarily Panasonic, Sony, and all that.
There are people who are using their very, very 2011 Micro Four Thirds who are still creating.
Yeah. And it hit what really hit the nail was when they went back to Casey Neistat, and he just says that this whole thing about gear, right, is insulting. If you're just trying to tell a story, then as a storyteller, the gear question can be viewed as insulting, because it just says that you are saying that I can only do this because of my gear, not because of my storytelling ability, not because of my creativity or my imagination or my methodology in trying to convey a message to you. And I think that's also another way of looking at it and say that actually just put it out there. I think for us, we have gotten past what was good for us is also that we have gone past that gear is not enough mentality because we started doing it. And I think I'm going to answer the question again. Well, I'm going to try and answer the question properly by saying that I'm going to continue doing content and try and put out more things in the 3X structure, because storytelling is not just it's not just an entertainment sort of thing. It can also be used as a marketing tool. And for me, this is important because I find that I'm best in this field when I am sharing ideas. So earlier this year, I spoke to you about the what's my purpose, right?
Yeah.
The Simon Sinek experiment, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, my purpose actually is really I enjoy sharing ideas.
Yep.
And the thing that makes me light up at work is putting out ideas, putting out things to share that is interesting, that is useful. And I think doing content in various formats is the way to push that forward and serve that purpose. Okay, this one has gone quite deep, quite dark. quite progressive.
So this is the last question.
The last question number 6.
So what are you going to start doing in the coming year?
What I will start doing in the coming year, I think the first aspect would be more on the professional side, easier to share. I would put more emphasis, it's a bit of a repetition, I'll put more emphasis into content creation. I find that we are at the point in time where there's a lot of things that come together that make content creation, content marketing much more straightforward than it used to be. We have social media platforms that are actually no longer social media, they are interest media. That is, so long someone is interested, the algorithm believes that somebody is interested in this topic, it will push your stuff to that person.
Yep.
That's the reason why when you're on TikTok, IG, wherever you are, you don't really see your friends' content anymore. It's no
more
longer
of like third-party contents and people that you may not follow naturally.
Correct.
And stuff like that.
It's not social media anymore. It's like interest media. It's what you are interested in, they'll push to you.
Yep.
Rather than following your friends' stuff. In fact, the only type of social media content that is really about your friends these days, there's only one format left. And that's the Instagram story.
Ah, yes.
Because Instagram story is still based on follows.
But yet at the same time, I realize it's also kind of interest because only the people that you are constantly watching are pushed back to you in that sense. They are
Yeah, but that's because you followed them in the first place.
Yeah.
And how do you follow them? Because it was pushed to you in the first place through the reels.
Yeah.
Right. So that I think the biggest change, that's one. So it doesn't matter who follows you or who subscribe to you. For this year, a lot of our views came from people that don't know us in our personal capacity. Right. We have the tens and tens of views, the tens and the hundreds of views that come along. Most of it come from the recommendations, the recommendation engine on YouTube. So it shows that like if you put out something and it is engaging, then people will stick with you. So I feel that we're at a point where I need to start doing more content and start to push this skill set further along and to really, really use that experimental mindset to try things out and do more things. I will start experimenting, I suppose. I wouldn't dare to say that I'm going to start a vlog tomorrow. You know, I may say that I may try out some vlogging.
Yep.
But I think that is, to me, that's enough. Because to say that I will try out some vlogging, it means that I'm trying out new things to taste and to see if I can build further. Rather than say that I'm going to build and then whether I like it or not, just because I said I build it is a resolution and then I'll just run myself into the ground doing it. I don't think I will do that. I will start looking for more energizing work and lean into it rather than just grind along. Because I think that's also looking at the year is like I've done work that's really non-energizing and sapping versus like doing this where I really found out that this is like energizing work. Yeah, I think understanding that sort of I'll start doing more energizing work. I'll try more experiments in terms of content creation. That's the professional side of things, content creation side of things. Yeah, and I need to start working out more. I need to start putting the workout timings as plotted appointments rather than something that I will do along the way. Yeah. How about you? What are you going to start doing for 2026?
I think for me is workout is one I've always been saying that, health and workout fitness is. But I think this year it's not that I've not been doing it, but it's more that there's no like a long-term plan. Like, I know I have friends who like, okay, I'm going to start running more, but then they sign up for a race at the end of the year. So there's like a goal to work towards too. So what exactly is that goal? Then is to refine it and to have like it's to focus the energy into something. So I think I want to start doing it, and then maybe it's about, I don't know, I'm not so crazy to say that, okay, I'm going to do
Iron Man
or something like that. I'm not that kind. Even though, yes, I know a colleague of mine and a friend of four of us, I think you know who is he. that he has signed up for a duathlon and he has been cycling me, hey, go duathlon. I said, no, I'm not as crazy as you. I'm pushing 40s already. I'm not going to do that. But it's about putting...
Yeah, this is the part where you say no. Saying no to things that you are not interested in.
But it's to put like a number and to a metric to certain things. It's not just like, okay, but really like to have a plan to certain things and then to have a metrics to it. Not metrics for the metric's sake, but like really to measure yourself at the end of the year or pass a period of time so that you know like things are going well kind of thing. And then I think secondly is to prioritize or to what I'm going to start doing is really to view rest as rest lah. Past some of friends who are quite close to me say that you are burning out because you are guilty of rest or you don't view rest in a healthy way.
I do fall into that trap. It's basically you view rest as a reward.
Either rest as a reward or secondly, people need you. It's like, okay, I can forsake this. Or it's like the idea of matchsticks, right? Like
you can just throw it away. Yeah.
We burn tomorrow for today. But then in the long run, it's not going to help. It actually is more detrimental to who you are being than helping you in the long run. Because on one hand, yes, you accomplish certain things, but in the long run, in the long view of things, accomplishing this actually doesn't really make a lot of sense.
You may have even forgotten about it. Like 3 weeks later, you may have forgotten about it already.
But the rest will always, your body will always be thankful for the rest lah. And then I think also with respect to life in general, if once we don't prioritize rest and it kind of bleeds into other aspect of things, where I realize is that when you are more rested, it kind of takes away the brain fog in some sense. You have some clarity. You're not always triggered by this like fight or flight response, like this survival mode thinking.
This stressful way of living. Yeah.
Which
like up against the wall kind of feeling.
Yeah, which kind of then makes things worse rather than better. That's what I'm going to start doing more. I think firstly to put metrics to things that I want to do, like milestones, what are the milestones that I'm hitting and stuff like that. And then and to prioritize rest lah. These two things lah, basically.
Yep. And of course with the mindset of like just trying it out.
Yeah.
And continuous improvement rather
and to
than
like if it doesn't work at a particular point of time, like let's say 2 months into the year, we are not gonna like, man, we're just gonna tweak it and like maybe have to throw it away certain things and experiment. So I think that's how we are wrapping up 2025.
So what did you learn today?
The thing that I've learned is that why does English say cheers instead of following the convention of other European languages? So let me just dive a bit deeper and give a bit of context. And I think it's also a good thing to learn as we end the year, because we are going to start the new year and some of you may drink or you may have some drinks and then you would cheers to the new year ahead. So it's also a good thing to know why we do that. So English we say cheers, but in a lot of other, especially Western European languages, right? You realize that they use the word salud in Spanish, saúde in Portuguese, salud in Italian, and French say santé. And all these actually have Latin roots, which means health. Whereas in English, we only say, if we take out the glass, we say cheers, right? So cheers usually means joy. It means good mood, good spirits, right? So how come there's so much different? It's because actually English, it actually originally meant face or expression. Then it changed to, because you say cheer, then it's like it gets the attention of the other person. Then it shifted to mean mood, good spirit, and a sense of joy. And then over time, it was shortened to just cheers, because previously it was like be of good cheer, in good cheer. And then, So in modern times, it developed into a friendly meaning of thanks and much appreciated, like cheers, right? So it is very different from how European languages are. When you toast someone, you actually are wishing the other person good health. And also because if you even trace the root, was because in ancient times, the food and the water that you drink may not be, you cannot guarantee the quality of it.
Yes.
You may actually get sick. So it's like, yeah, in good health. In English, it's kind of like they borrowed drinking customs from the French, especially like with the wine and stuff like that, with Latin and even Nordic influences. But then they already had like this strong cheers tradition that were linked to a good spirit, good mood, rather than health. So therefore, it uses cheers. But even though the drinking tradition was from other European cultures, but then they already had their own tradition that alcoholic drinks or drinks in general kind of linked to mood and spirit rather than health. Salud or this Santé is health, but actually a lot of other European traditions, especially in Eastern Europe, don't actually follow the same idea. So like Western Europe is very Latin-based, which is they focus about health. Slavic tradition talks about good fortune. Then in Scandinavian, it's about community or shared culture, shared traditions, a shared bowl. Whereas German is about success or goodness. That's why it's post. So therefore, there's actually no single European convention. So the health thing seems to be more like a Western Europe, Portuguese, the Italian, the French, and the Spanish. Whereas English is about mood. Then the rest of the other European states are like a little bit different. So that was something that I've learned. So it was quite interesting, especially with the end of the year feasting and all these things that's happening around us.
Not just showing respect, but also wishing well on the other person. It's just that the focus is slightly different on different cultures.
Yeah.
So it's either good health or success or
community, fortune. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my turn. So that you notice based on where we are right now, there are a lot of places with the word Alkaff on the name.
Yes.
All the HDB estates, all the Alkaff something. There's a mosque here. So it's Masjid Alkaff.
Yep.
Right? Alkaff Mosque. And then there's also Alkaff Mansion at Telok Blangah Hill.
Yes, that's what I remembered.
Yeah. Okay, so they are all related to this Arab merchant who migrated here in the early 1900s. His name was Syed Abdul Rahman Syed Alkaff. Okay, so obviously he was a very wealthy person. He grew his business, became a very wealthy person, and some of the properties that he owned included the mansion at Telok Blangah, as well as this huge piece of land next to Bidadari Cemetery.
Okay. That's why this area is named after
Alkaff.
Yeah.
But he didn't own this piece of land to live on. This piece of land where you see like the landed property houses as well as Cedar Girls' School, this place was once upon a time called Alkaff Gardens. He really admired the view of what Japanese gardens looked like.
The Zen garden kind
of thing. The sort of like Japan-esque kind of thing. So he actually built a lake and a full Mount Fuji in the gardens. So I won't go into details here because there is a link to it. So also consume this to link below in the description. There is a YouTube video by the National Library Board that talks about Alkaff Gardens. So it was once a Japanese garden with a lake and a man-made Mount Fuji looking thing, right? And it was once a park. He actually opened the park to the public. Yeah. It fell into disuse in the late 1930s, 1938. After the war, it sort of fell into disrepair. And then the reason why that estate there is called Senet Estate, Property Investment Trust, basically with the name of Senet, bought the whole piece of land and redeveloped it into houses.
During colonial times?
Yes, during colonial times. So that's why where the name Alkaff came about. Yeah, there's a lot of intriguing details. I will not go into that because you can just go to the link and watch it for yourself. So what is left of the Alkaff ownership era, what is left of it is that the mosque is still there. It's interesting because you just see a piece of land, but actually it's got quite interesting history. It was a private garden, but they opened it to the public on certain days of the year and it got quite popular. That was what I learned recently. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for taking part in our journey that we started this year in 2025. Happy 2026. This is to be launched in 2026.
Yep.
Yep. We wish you a very happy new year. Also, pros to good health, right?
Yes.
Cheers to good health. Yeah. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.